Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. It's your vacation, OP. Them asking is fine, but when you said no, that should have been it. You'd have to ask her with you for 4 weeks and have your sister babysit her as well. It's unfair to be asked to do that. You decided to not have children for a reason. I'm not taking my niece to France. I, 37-year-old male, live in the U.S. with my 36-year-old female spouse. She's American and I'm French. We both didn't want kids and didn't have any, and we enjoy our life this way together. We have nieces and nephews we see occasionally during the holidays or family gatherings. We just came back from a family visit that ended up in some argument with our relatives over taking our niece, 17 years old, to a planned trip to France to hang out with my family for 4 weeks during the summer break. By any means, our niece is a good kid. We watched a couple of times at our home or theirs when her parents needed to be out of town and couldn't take her. She listens to us for the most part, but there are things she doesn't do and gives us some attitude about when asked to. Like taking her shoes off, not eating on the couch, asking adults for food instead of snacking, staying at the table until the end of the meal, waiting for everyone to start eating, setting the table, asking if she can watch TV instead of turning it on at will. Those may seem like minor, trivial details, but they're not where I come from. Arguing with adults over this type of trivial thing is not even a thing in my family. No fault of her own. Culturally, kids are raised differently here and there, and I'm fine with it, but this is also why I don't want to bring her with us on our trip. My sister has a big property with farm animals, a bed and breakfast, and all the kids are used to doing chores and don't argue because it's a communal thing we do together. Her property is a classic French small castle gem, and there's always something to do. We plan to drive to a couple wine places, visit friends, and we would need to leave our niece in the care of my sister. I already know that the way my sister plans days for her kids will be a problem to my niece, and I don't want to burden her with that. She's making her home a welcoming place for over 18 family members, plus the guests in the bed and breakfast throughout the summer. We just do what she tells us and help where we can because she's the host. It's the way we've done it since forever. So when my brother-in-law asked if I could take our niece on our trip to France, I said no. He insisted I ask my sister before I answered, and I said that I wouldn't. I asked that we talk in private and not in front of the kids to explain why to him. He started screaming, so I answered why, mentioning that French families operate differently and it wouldn't work for anyone. I know for a fact that my sister doesn't want any of it. She hosted an American exchange student once and didn't have a good time at all, and it was around the property work and chores. Now brother-in-law, sister-in-law, mother-in-law, and father-in-law are pissed off and trying to get my wife to make it happen for the sake of our niece. And our second story. I'll meet the call count, but won't make the calls count. I worked at a call center for a collection agency for nearly 5 years. Anybody that's worked in this type of environment knows that there are all sorts of targets that are expected to be met, be they daily, monthly, or whatever. One of our targets was to make a certain number of calls per day. I believe it was 120. Naturally, though, the more contact you would make with debtors, the less time there was to make other calls. It's usually not an issue, but some days you might make significantly more contact than others, and sometimes your call count might be like 2/3 of what it should be. We would get regular updates on the call count, and our manager would let us know if we were on track, and at the end of the day, they'd give you the final results. I found it very annoying when you would have a successful day collecting debts and generating revenue for the company, only to have a manager dwell on your call count. Any protest of, yes, I didn't meet the call count requirement, but hey, look at the revenue I generated today. It doesn't matter. The target must be met. Even if it wasn't a successful day, but I knew I still ended up spending too much time in contact with these debtors in attempt to collect, I would ask managers to review my talk time to see that the efforts were being made to do what we are hired to do. Doesn't matter. The requirement must be met. Now, to be clear, a call only counted if someone picked up or the call went to a voicemail box that wasn't full. The system was unable to register events otherwise, not in service, voicemail box full, rings out with no VM box or answer, meaning if you were to make hundreds of attempts in one day, only a fraction are registered. Everyone's aware of this, but it didn't matter to the company. While I was tired of the unfairness of it all, it also doesn't help that the company was grossly skimming our bonuses that my department's client provided to us as a reward for successfully collecting on these debts. It was really obvious when our bonuses became random numbers when it was only possible for them to be multiples of 5. Frustrated with this literal theft and underappreciation of successful collection, the whole point of the job, I decided to comply with the call count expectations and never be under the target again. I created a notepad file with a list of all the telephone numbers that went straight to voicemail. These are often numbers that have blocked us or presumably the owner of the number set up as away or something. From then on, I made sure to make 15 to 20 calls per hour that would register, implying that even more calls were being made that they just couldn't see due to the way the system registered calls. I would spread these calls out so my activity wouldn't seem suspicious and would spend all day reading articles on the internet. Naturally, the revenue I'd been generating decreased by about 80%. How come you're not collecting? Well, manager, you can see I'm surpassing my call count target and my talk time is very low, so I'm just not getting the opportunities to do so. It should be noted that whatever I was collecting after doing so was really easy. The people whose accounts we received who could pay and wanted to pay anyway, often these people would call us, so I just relied on that to make it appear like I was doing anything at all. They started giving me lower value portfolios to work, which is fine by me. You're stealing my bonus, the very incentive I have to do more than the bare minimum anyway for a paycheck. I honestly thought I was quiet quitting, but no, I had a reputation as a valued member of our department and company, so no one wanted to fire me. I guess they just chalked up my lack of success to the crap portfolios they were assigning me. Steal my bonuses and dwell on a target that would be better judged as a marker of effort rather than an end-all be-all, and I couldn't care less. I was getting paid to read. This went on for nearly 2 years until I had to leave for mental health reasons. And our next story. I can't park here. Now you wait. This didn't happen to me personally, but I thought it was good enough to share here. A colleague of mine worked a few years as an internet technician for a service provider. He did installations and maintenance, etc. One day he gets called out to fix someone's router or something. He pulls up in the company van to the address, and it's an apartment building in a busy area with little parking. He sees a few spaces for residents only and thinks, I'll just stop there, unload my equipment at the apartment, then find a proper space. As soon as he does, a lady from the apartment starts shouting at him that he's in a residents-only spot, clear off or she'll call the police, etc. My colleague tries to explain it's just a quick drop-off, but she insists, so not wanting to cause trouble, he leaves and parks far away. On getting back to the address where the issue he was sent out to fix was, he knocks on the door and, lo and behold, it's the same woman who shouted at him earlier. From her expression, he could tell she recognized him, but he plays dumb and pretends not to recognize her. He starts the repairs and after a little while says, I need to get something from the van, but it'll take a while because I couldn't park here. The lady is all, oh, you can park outside in the residence parking, it isn't a problem. But he insisted, no, I wouldn't want to upset anyone here. I'll leave the van where it is, and so he leaves and takes around a half an hour to get back. He does this a couple times, fixes the problem, and leaves, while all the while the lady didn't open her mouth. And our last story. The church wants a piece of my farm. So I, 38-year-old female, had COVID in March. On a ventilator, in the hospital, permanent lung damage, the whole thing. A friend's sister, 39-year-old female, begged to use some of my garden space to plant a garden. I have a large farm. I made it clear I wouldn't be able to tend to her garden as I'm still recovering and get winded and tired easily, and humidity is really hard on me. All good, she promised to take care of it and plant a few things for me letting her use the space. A good deal, as I love gardening and fresh produce, but didn't think I'd be able to do it myself this year. I paid someone to come till the space. It's a very large space. Personally, I plant things in rows far enough apart to be able to take my tiller between the rows to get most of the weeds. Early in the morning, I would plant a few things at a time for myself. She would drop stuff off at my house that she wanted planted but would never actually do it, citing she was too tired. She doesn't work and has 2 children, the elder 14-year-old male who lives with her. The only day she helped, she planted about 4 of the 45 pepper plants that she'd bought and then said she was too tired to even finish. I finished the peppers for her and planted some onions her sister, my friend, has given me. These I'll give her if they live. I don't need 40 different kinds of peppers and that many onions. I've been trying to get her to help pull weeds, water, and make fence and generally help me take care of this garden. She always says she will, but never has. I told her that her peppers were going to be lost 2 weeks too soon. She dropped off a super small tiller at my house while I was asleep and told me that shouldn't make me as tired as my larger one. I was baffled by that. She informed her sister, my friend, on how she plans on giving and selling my full garden harvest to people at her church. I am livid. Some days I seriously almost call 911 because I was barely able to breathe after only working a few minutes. I plan to freeze and can the majority of my garden to keep my grocery bill down. I told her I give her the onions and peppers, but everything else is mine. She did no work and did not put any money into my garden. Her other sister, 49-year-old female, is telling her I'm being unreasonable, and her church friends think I am as well. They all think that because she plans on giving and selling this to her church that I should let her. I'm not religious, so that type of rationale does not work on me. I do volunteer at a food pantry and planned on taking some there. They also think I'm awful for taking away from a single mother. I know her older sister knows the full picture and not just her side, and she still thinks I'm being awful. Edit: I am single with no children and live alone, so I do not have help, apart from my Labrador and cat that chase off rabbits. This is my friend's sister, not my friend. My friend is kind enough to invite me to her family gatherings at her house since I don't have any family living. She did bring several more seeds and plants to plant herself. She never did, obviously, and I did not plant most of them and stated I would not both before and after she purchased them, so they died or didn't get used. She spent a lot of money on these, apparently. Example, she spent $50 on different kinds of pumpkin seeds. I told her pumpkins take a lot of space and she'd need to till a bunch of space in one of my fields to grow them. Her sister and church friends now think I should reimburse her for the money she spent on top of giving her everything in the garden. Sorry, I should have said I believe she wants to give and sell to members of her church, not the church directly. I think since all of the farmers markets have been canceled due to COVID, her church is putting a makeshift one together for members. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.